Hello again everyone and welcome back to Trick Bricks. I'm Jamie, and today we're going to take a quick break from the retrospectives to check out a childhood favorite of mine, 6551 Checkered Flag 500. This set is pretty near and dear to my heart for one very important reason. When I was just a young lad, all of my Lego were hand-me-downs that once belonged to my mom and two uncles, mostly just random bricks and plates. But that all changed Christmas of '92 when I found this bad boy under the tree at my grandparents' house, the first brand new all-mine set I ever received. So I'm stoked to be able to share this with you today. Let's strap in and get to it. As I mentioned, Checkered Flag 500 was released in 1992, and it's made up of 193 pieces, 6 minifigures, and retailed for $26.50 in the US. I'm happy to say I've got the box and instructions here, both in pretty decent condition. I should mention that this is not my original set, unfortunately. I was far from smart enough to keep all the boxes and instructions from my youth, and while I could probably dig up all the pieces to this set, they may or may not be very presentable, since they've been jostled around with thousands of other bricks and pieces for the past 27 years. Anyway, this is some classic box art, with the old system logo in the top left, and the set nicely augmented with this sand dune artwork in the background. And if we check out the back, we'll find a plethora of alternate builds. Even though I don't ever remember actually building any back-of-the-box suggestions, I still miss seeing all the different possibilities the designers came up with, and someday I'd love to see the alternate builds make a comeback to the packaging. But moving on to the set, the main draw for me were these two Doom buggies, so let's check them out first. They're both identical as far as building goes, just sporting different color schemes. And being a patriotic American kid, this one was always my favorite. Right away, you can tell these guys are special for one very important reason. These axle pieces with suspension are only one of the coolest old Lego elements ever. I'm not sure why they don't make them anymore, or at least something comparable, because they're super useful for off-road builds. Anyway, you've got a pair of adjustable headlights up front, and a sleek front end thanks to this wedge brick. This is a sticker here, and this set as a whole actually relies on decals quite a bit, but we'll get to the rest in a minute. The windshield is hinged at the rear to allow access to the driver's compartment, which is pretty straightforward, just enough room for a steering wheel and place to sit. Two more lights flank the driver on either side, and then there's the flag. It's actually just another sticker folded in two on top of this red antenna. These help keep track of the racers as they're flying in and out of the sand dunes. Beneath that is the engine. It's pretty simple, but cool nonetheless, with exhaust coming out the rear on each side. And then finally we have the wing, which is a printed piece for both cars, and it's also adjustable up and down and side to side. Like I mentioned, the build for these is identical, the only real differences for this guy being the color scheme, the number 4 livery instead of 2, and a few additional stripes here on the nose. And while the white one is my personal favorite, they're both awesome, because they're both race cars, and there's not much on earth cooler than a race car. But race cars gotta have a place to race, so we're given a race track. Well, not quite, but at least we've got the start-finish line here. And it's all built on this green 32x32 road plate. Down here we've got a single prickly bush just waiting to get run over, and next to that is a very cool element indeed, the fully functional floor jack. I loved this as a kid, and still do actually. Simply slide it under the car, push down on the handle, and voila, you're ready to make some last-minute repairs or performance mods. But across the track is where most of the non-racing action is taking place. We've got some fencing along here to protect the crewmen and spectators, each one emblazoned with an Octan sticker, a small pennant here at one end, and a Christmas tree-style starting system at the other, complete with antenna. I've never actually seen a Christmas tree with an antenna before, but I guess it makes sense here. Clipped here at the fence opening are a pair of fire extinguishers in case things get hairy, and then we have this small build for a fuel barrel, again sporting an Octan decal. I'm guessing they're the title sponsor of the Checkered Flag 500. A very small tool rack finds itself behind the fence over here, containing a wrench and a hammer, which will undoubtedly come in handy with the aforementioned repairs and performance upgrades. And lastly, overlooking all the racing action, is this platform for the spotter. It features a few of the smaller fence elements, as well as a pair of yellow flags. In vintage LEGO fashion, there isn't any way for your minifigs to get up here, so you'll have to add a ladder or some stairs from your own collection, or just imagine that your minifigs are excellent jumpers. Speaking of minifigs, we get a bunch of them here, 6 to be exact, an above average number for a set of this size. First, the Flagman, or Grand Marshal if you prefer, who's decked out in some pretty formal attire for a racetrack. He gets the standard smiley, a white cap, and this printed checkered flag clipped to a red handle. Next, the Spotter. He gets the radio for communicating with his driver, and he's wearing a white jacket and blue hat. Adding a touch of femininity to the crowd is this gal, who, interestingly, stole her shirt from a pirate. She also gets the black ponytail hairpiece. The Mechanic has the distinction of being the only minifig here with something other than the standard smiley face, sporting sunglasses instead. And that black muscle shirt is positively 90s. Lastly, and most importantly, we get our 2 speed demons. Driving the red, white, and blue car, this guy is, appropriately, wearing a red, white, and blue fire suit, and a red helmet. Piloting the red, black, and yellow buggy, this driver is a bit less color coordinated, decked out head to toe in white. This might not be the flashiest group of minifigures you've ever seen, but they certainly have their vintage charm. And so does the set as a whole, in my opinion. It doesn't need a ton of parts, a film license, and lots of fancy built-in action features to kickstart play, but rather just a little imagination. And at the end of the day, that's what I love most about vintage LEGO. And even if you don't have any sentimental attachment to this set the way I do, it's still pretty cool to add to your collection. If you'd like to do so, you can expect to pay somewhere around $30 for a used copy, which is only a few dollars more than the original retail price. Sealed, you're looking at around $70. But that's all for today. Hopefully you enjoyed my nostalgic trip down memory lane. If you did, feel free to click that thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be back soon with another awesome vintage LEGO video, but until then, this has been Jamie for Trick Bricks. As always, thanks for watching, take care, and play well!